When Princess Anne walked into Parliament last week, no one expected what came next. But what she said sent tremors through the very foundations of Buckingham Palace. A revelation so deeply personal, so emotionally charged, it left even the most seasoned royals shaken. For decades, the world speculated about Princess Diana's private fears, her quiet warnings, and the whispers she shared only with those she truly trusted. But now, for the first time ever, Anne has broken her silence. And what she's revealed about Diana's final years, her pain and her chilling predictions, is not only heartbreaking, it's a direct challenge to the royal image the firm has desperately tried to protect. This isn't just a family matter anymore, it's a reckoning. The forgotten archive. It began quietly, buried beneath 20 years of dust in a royal archive room deep within Windsor Castle. In March 2025, during a routine digital preservation effort, a palace historian unearthed a sealed envelope marked in Queen Elizabeth II's unmistakable handwriting, "To be read only upon my passing." The letter was dated July 2002, a full 20 years before the Queen's death in 2022. What caught immediate attention wasn't just the date, it was the addressees, Prince William and Prince Harry. The historian, aware of its gravity, followed strict royal protocol and reported the finding to Sir Clive Alderton, the King's principal private secretary. But within 48 hours, the letter disappeared from the archives, and whispers of its contents began flooding the corridors of Buckingham Palace. According to leaked accounts from 3 former palace aides, the letter included the Queen's private reflections on the monarchy's future, with specific reference to Princess Diana, Camilla Parker Bowles, and the roles her grandsons should one day inherit. Written only 5 years after Diana's death in 1997, the letter reportedly carried Queen Elizabeth's deep remorse over how the institution had handled Diana's divorce, media persecution, and eventual death in August 1997. The Queen was said to have admitted the monarchy's coldness toward Diana was a wound upon the crown. The phrase, now circulating among royal insiders, has become the symbolic heart of a looming scandal. Most shockingly, the Queen urged her heirs, William and Harry, to protect their mother's legacy at all costs, even if it meant defying Charles's wishes. Behind closed doors, panic erupted within King Charles's advisory team. The Privy Council was summoned for an emergency review, and Royal Archivist Claire Montague was temporarily relieved of her duties in April 2025. Officially, for sabbatical leave, but insiders confirmed she was questioned under oath about whether she had leaked the contents. Reports indicate that Buckingham Palace legal staff and MI5's Royal Division were both tasked with containing fallout, particularly with concerns the letter would reach foreign press before the monarchy could respond. The decision was made not to disclose the letter publicly, not even to the Cabinet Office, which typically reviews sensitive constitutional materials. In short, the Queen's private thoughts were locked away again, but this time, not by her choice. What makes this discovery different from previous royal controversies is the symbolic timing. With the royal family still reeling from King Charles's cancer diagnosis in February 2024, and Camilla's public image deteriorating since her controversial Commonwealth tour of Canada in June 2023, this letter lands like dynamite. William and Harry, already estranged, were both allegedly informed of the letter's existence, but gagged by non-disclosure orders signed in May 2025. According to royal correspondent Emily Barr, both princes were given differing versions of the letter's content in separate private briefings, an apparent strategy to keep them divided and disoriented. If true, this would suggest a coordinated campaign to protect Camilla's status as queen consort, directly contradicting the Queen's own written wishes. As public suspicion begins to mount, and palace insiders continue to leak fragments of the letter's content, the monarchy finds itself cornered by a truth it tried to suppress. But it's not just the Queen's handwriting or her regret that's fueling this fire. It's the unmistakable suggestion that Camilla should never have been queen. And the next chapter takes us back to 2005, to a wedding the Queen never wanted, and a vow she may have broken in the name of protocol over principle. The wedding she never wanted. The royal wedding of April 9, 2005, between Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles was framed publicly as a moment of healing, a symbolic unification of love, forgiveness, and royal evolution. But behind palace doors, Queen Elizabeth II was deeply conflicted. Multiple insiders have now confirmed that the Queen initially refused to attend the civil ceremony, only agreeing to appear at the religious blessing in St. George's Chapel at the last moment. The decision wasn't personal, it was institutional. Queen Elizabeth, still haunted by the shadow of Princess Diana's tragic death in 1997, believed Camilla's public image was too divisive, her history with Charles too controversial. Documents now tied to the 2002 letter confirm the Queen made a conditional agreement. Camilla could marry Charles, but must never be styled Queen. This promise, reportedly given in the presence of Archbishop Rowan Williams, was believed to be ironclad. The public was told Camilla would be titled Princess Consort when Charles became king. That messaging, reinforced for nearly 2 decades, was repeated as recently as 2010 in official statements from Clarence House. However, in a shocking shift, just months before the Queen's Platinum Jubilee in 2022, an unexpected announcement changed everything. Queen Elizabeth expressed her sincere wish for Camilla to be known as Queen Consort. Many saw it as a gracious act of closure, but others, particularly within the Queen's close circle, whispered that the decision was made under immense pressure, perhaps as a final concession to Charles as she faced her twilight years. The leak of the 2002 letter, however, brings that last-minute shift into question. In it, the Queen allegedly reaffirmed that Diana's memory must be preserved at all costs, warning that if Camilla ever became queen, it would rewrite history in the eyes of the nation. One paragraph, according to a palace aide who saw the letter in April 2025, reads, "The crown must not be used to legitimize pain. Some wounds belong to memory, not monarchy." If accurate, this directly contradicts the Queen's final public endorsement of Camilla, raising chilling questions about who truly authored that 2022 message, and whether royal protocol was manipulated to serve a narrative of reconciliation that never truly existed. The Queen's hesitation in 2005, it seems, was not temporary. It was buried. The wedding of Charles and Camilla, once touted as a triumph over scandal, may now be viewed in a new light, not as a victory of love, but a compromise the Queen regretted. And this regret was not passive. The 2002 letter is said to include her instruction that the document be shown to William and Harry only after her death, not just to guide them, but to arm them, to give them written proof of the monarchy's true sentiment about their mother, and Camilla's contested role. For Prince William, now next in line to the throne, this revelation threatens to reopen a wound he tried to bury 2 decades ago. For Prince Harry, estranged and skeptical, it vindicates every decision he made to step away. The Queen's silence on Camilla may not have been acceptance, but a strategy of containment. But if the Queen's letter was meant to offer her grandson's protection, it's now clear that the palace is doing everything to ensure they never use it. The legal machinery of the monarchy is already in motion, cloaking William and Harry in silence. Yet, behind that silence lies a deeper storm, because one detail from that 2002 letter references a conversation that never made it into the history books, and it goes back to Diana's final hours and the decision Charles made at a Paris hospital. The night Diana died. On the night of August 31, 1997, Princess Diana was declared dead at 4:00 a.m. Paris time. The world stood still, but the halls of Balmoral Castle, where the royal family was staying, erupted in chaos. While Prince William, age 15, and Prince Harry, age 12, slept, Prince Charles made a controversial decision: to fly to Paris alone. What the public didn't know is that Queen Elizabeth was initially opposed to this trip. She believed it would expose the monarchy to emotional chaos, derail protocol, and open the family to blame. Despite her disapproval, Charles departed at 6:00 a.m. aboard a RAF jet, and when he returned that evening with Diana's body, he was visibly shaken. But what haunted the Queen wasn't his grief. It was what he told her afterward. According to the 2002 letter, Charles admitted that he had made a private stop in Diana's hospital room and removed an item from her belongings. The Queen, reportedly disturbed, pressed him, but he refused to explain further. That item, the letter claims, was a red leather-bound diary, one Diana kept secret, even from her closest aides. It allegedly contained details of private calls, fears of surveillance, and plans to move to America. This diary, never seen again, was rumored for years, but its existence was dismissed by palace sources as conspiracy nonsense. Now, the Queen's letter appears to confirm it was real, and that Charles may have destroyed it. One line in the letter reads, "He claimed he did it for the boys, but I fear he did it for the firm." This confession, if authentic, would redefine public understanding of how the monarchy handled Diana's death. Not only was Charles managing his own narrative, he may have actively suppressed Diana's final voice to shield both Camilla and the crown from exposure. The implications for William and Harry are devastating. They were told their mother's personal effects were returned in full, including letters, jewelry, and photos. But if one of her most important possessions vanished under their father's orders, it betrays a breach of trust dating back over 25 years. The Queen's documentation of the event suggests she intended for the truth to come out eventually, but only when her sons were ready, and the political weight of Camilla's role had already settled. It wasn't just a diary. It was a symbol of who Diana was after the divorce in 1996, free, but still hunted, and more alone than the world ever knew. If the loss of Diana's diary symbolized the monarchy's darkest hour, the Queen's letter may be her last attempt to illuminate what was hidden. But it didn't stop there. In a chilling revelation, the letter also described a private meeting with Camilla in early 2001, and in it, the Queen confided her deepest concern: that Camilla had no intention of ever remaining princess consort, despite what she told the press, and that she saw herself as the rightful queen. Camilla's secret ambitions. In February 2001, the Queen held a private, unscheduled tea with Camilla Parker Bowles at Highgrove House, Prince Charles's estate in Gloucestershire. According to the letter, the meeting lasted 72 minutes, and no aides were permitted inside. It was the first and only time Queen Elizabeth directly confronted Camilla about the future. As per the Queen's recollection, Camilla was cordial, but unapologetically firm. She believed the British people would eventually forgive her, and that, over time, her image would evolve, not as consort, but as queen in full. The Queen, stunned, reportedly said, "But that title belongs to another woman's ghost." This exchange haunted Queen Elizabeth. In the 2002 letter, she writes that Camilla's demeanor was strategic, not remorseful. The Queen feared that Camilla saw the monarchy not as a duty, but as a game of endurance, one she intended to win. What disturbed her most was Camilla's suggestion that once Diana faded from public memory, her path to queenship would be clear. The Queen allegedly recorded in her private journal on March 3, 2001, that she felt betrayed by Charles and forced into silence by circumstance. These emotional entries were later sealed, but fragments were referenced again in her final correspondence in early 2022, just before her Platinum Jubilee. By then, public support for Camilla had improved slightly, but the Queen never forgot that private meeting. She reportedly made provisions in her will and estate instructions to ensure the letter remained in the royal archives, only to be released if the monarchy's foundational integrity was questioned. The Queen's fears weren't about scandal. They were about erosion. She believed the 1990s damaged the monarchy, but feared Camilla's slow rise could break its emotional covenant with the people, particularly the millions who still mourned Diana. To the Queen, the crown was never just a symbol. It was a memory. For William and Harry, the letter's revelation of this conversation with Camilla shatters years of public spin. If true, it means the woman their father married held ambitions entirely at odds with public statements made for decades. And more devastatingly, it means the Queen never truly believed in Camilla's role. Her silence, then, was not consent. It was a barrier, one now obliterated by time, ambition, and spin. But that barrier was held by just one figure, the Queen herself, and with her gone, so too is the protection it offered. As the monarchy rebrands itself under King Charles III, with Camilla by his side as Queen, the release of this hidden letter threatens to destabilize everything. But the fallout doesn't stop at emotional wounds. The Queen's letter includes one more extraordinary demand: that the letter be shown to Prince William in private, followed by a meeting with Prince Harry, no matter where in the world he might be. And it names one specific royal to deliver the letter. Not Charles, not Anne, but Kate Middleton. The letter's warning about Camilla's influence. In the letter dated April 2005, Queen Elizabeth reportedly expressed concern about Camilla Parker Bowles' growing influence over King Charles. She referenced conversations from 1997, just months after Diana's death, where Charles had pushed for Camilla's public rehabilitation. The Queen allegedly wrote that Camilla lacked the decorum and restraint befitting a future queen consort, and warned that a rush to legitimize her could fracture the monarchy permanently. This echoes what royal aides feared during Camilla's 2005 civil wedding. Queen Elizabeth's letter specifically warned that Prince Harry was emotionally vulnerable after Diana's passing, and that Charles's focus on Camilla risked emotional abandonment of his sons. The monarch cited a 2002 incident, where Harry returned from Eton visibly shaken after a private lunch with Camilla. She emphasized that the boys needed stability, not another divisive maternal figure so soon. The Queen's words painted Camilla not as evil, but as poorly timed and deeply polarizing. The Queen also reflected on how the public viewed Camilla. She cited polling data from 2003 showing that only 24% of the British public supported Camilla having any official royal title. The Queen questioned the palace's decision to soft-launch Camilla's image through charity events and social appearances, particularly the 2004 gala at the Ritz, which sparked tabloid fury. Her letter revealed a keen awareness of public disapproval and how it might echo into the next generation. Most chillingly, the Queen posed a direct question to her successors. "Will you trade stability for sentiment?" She underscored the need for William and Harry's well-being over Charles's personal happiness. This line, allegedly highlighted and underlined, was said to trigger arguments between Charles and the Queen in late 2005, months before Camilla's first public role as Duchess of Cornwall. The Queen's prophetic concerns now appear shockingly relevant in light of royal divisions. But the Queen didn't stop at warnings. She made specific requests for the future of the monarchy. What came next stunned the family and laid the groundwork for a major constitutional rift. The Queen's private request to the Prime Minister. According to insiders, a handwritten addendum dated June 2006 was reportedly included with the Queen's sealed letter. This was addressed not only to her family, but also to the sitting Prime Minister at the time, Tony Blair. In it, she allegedly asked for a moral guardianship review of any future Queen consort who had not received public blessing. This stunning move showed the Queen's desire to institutionalize a checks and balances system for royal marriages. The letter implied that Camilla's approval as Queen consort should only proceed with parliamentary consultation and public consent. This sent shockwaves through Downing Street, especially after the 2005 marriage had been labeled private to avoid public backlash. The Queen feared that bypassing political scrutiny could render future royal appointments illegitimate. The request was quietly shelved, but copies were allegedly archived at Whitehall and Sandringham. Tony Blair, when asked about this by reporters in 2017, cryptically said, "There were moments when Her Majesty's constitutional instincts were sharper than ours." Many believe he was referencing this very letter. The implication is that the Queen tried to preemptively block Camilla's elevation, not through emotion, but constitutional tradition. Her warning was not heeded, something that Prince Harry himself alluded to in his 2023 memoir, Spare, when he called Camilla dangerous. More documents reportedly show that the Queen had consulted with her private secretary, Sir Robin Janvrin, in 2006, about including this condition in her official will. While it didn't become law, it served as a symbolic line in the sand, a monarch urging caution against private happiness overtaking public duty. William was allegedly made aware of this in 2010, which led to a deepening chill in his interactions with Camilla. But as the Queen's health declined, the letter disappeared, sparking whispers of a cover-up. What happened to the original document and who wanted it gone reveals a new layer of palace secrecy. The disappearance of the letter and cover-up allegations. Following the Queen's health decline in 2021, Palace staff reportedly began a housekeeping review of classified royal archives. During this, it was allegedly discovered that the original sealed letter had vanished from the Balmoral safe, where it was last seen in 2018. Internal communications, leaked in early 2023, suggest that palace aides were frantic to locate the letter, but no trace has been found. Some insiders suspect foul play. One senior aide told reporters in April 2023 that a particular duchess's household had made several unusual archive access requests in 2019, shortly after Prince Philip's funeral planning began. While the aide didn't name Camilla directly, speculation exploded in tabloids. The timing, the location, and the coincidence with Charles's increasing push to have Camilla recognized as Queen all lined up too perfectly for the public. Even more concerning was the alleged gag order issued to staff members who had ever handled the letter. One palace archivist reportedly resigned in May 2023, citing ethical conflicts. Prince William, according to friends, was livid when he learned about the letter's disappearance. He allegedly asked Sir Clive Alderton, Charles's private secretary, for answers. but received only non-committal responses. Tension between father and son grew worse. To this day, no official investigation has been launched. Royal correspondents argue that Buckingham Palace deliberately wants the letter forgotten, as it casts shadows over Camilla's current role as queen. The notion that Elizabeth II herself may have opposed Camilla's rise is too damaging to be confirmed. Yet, among staff, the nickname "the missing crown note" remains a whispered legend. With the letter erased from official memory, the royals thought the danger had passed, until new audio clips and copies began to surface from unlikely sources. The leak that changed everything. In August 2025, a royal historian released an audio clip on a podcast claiming to be from the Queen's original dictation recording in 2006, preserved on a cassette tape. Within it, the Queen reportedly says, "My duty is not to bless romance, but to protect the crown." The voice, unmistakably hers, laid bare her doubts about Camilla's future and Charles's judgment. The clip went viral, shared over 12 million times in just 48 hours. William and Harry were both reportedly briefed by aides the morning the clip leaked. While William was devastated but composed, Harry was furious and emotional, according to palace insiders. However, neither brother has addressed the leak publicly. Instead, palace communications have adopted a no-comment protocol, sparking rumors that the brothers were pressured to stay silent by Charles's team to avoid further destabilizing the monarchy. More shockingly, a photocopy of the Queen's letter was anonymously sent to The Guardian in September 2025, with a note saying, "This was never meant to be buried." The publication confirmed the watermark and signature matched other known royal documents. Public outrage surged. Polls taken later that month showed 48% of Britons believed Camilla's role should be reduced or removed altogether. Royal experts now believe that this chain of events may permanently damage the public's trust in King Charles. What was once dismissed as Diana-era bitterness has now become institutional memory. And for William and Harry, caught between duty and their mother's shadow, the Queen's final message has become a curse they are no longer allowed to speak of. As Princess Anne stood beneath the painted ceilings of St. James's Palace during her recent public address, she didn't just speak as the Queen's daughter. She spoke as a woman carrying a decades-old secret that could no longer remain buried. Her decision to reveal what Princess Diana confided to her in private after nearly 3 decades wasn't made lightly. But for Anne, the silence had turned into weight. And with the monarchy now reshaped by scandal, succession, and scrutiny, it was time to fulfill the promise she made in 1995. That promise wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about rebellion. It was about truth. Diana didn't ask Anne to expose the palace or create upheaval. All she asked for was to be heard. To have someone she trusted carry the weight of her warnings, her fears, and her final thoughts. Not for gossip, but for legacy. Now, in the shadow of Harry's memoir, Charles's reign, and a divided royal family, that truth carries even more urgency. Anne's words were not a direct attack on the institution, but their implications were seismic. By acknowledging Diana's private warnings about being silenced, watched, and manipulated, especially by unnamed individuals close to the crown, Anne has done something no other senior royal has dared. She's bridged the past to the present. She's given Diana her voice back, not through tabloids or leaked tapes, but through bloodline and loyalty. As we look back at the years 1991 to 1997, it's clearer than ever that Diana wasn't paranoid. She was perceptive. And Anne, the ever-loyal workhorse of the firm, has now become an unlikely vessel for a truth the palace long hoped would fade. But with Diana's sons, now shaping their own destinies, William stepping closer to the throne, Harry speaking from the outside. Anne's confession may be the very thing that reshapes how history views the royal family's darkest chapter. Because in the end, it wasn't just a private conversation between sisters-in-law. It was a final message from a silenced princess, carried faithfully by a stoic sister, now finally delivered, loud enough for the whole world to hear.